내 맘대로 SOS message. Hello, hello, hello. Daytime filming Sabrina here. And today I'll be teaching you how to truly process your feelings from a situationship or a date that never truly bloomed, something that never truly came to fruition. So there's this something that I've just been noticing with dating in 2024, and that is a lot of people are very avoidant because they're really scared of saying the wrong things. So it's some form of action paralysis where you're so scared of doing the wrong things that you never take action to actually make a mistake or actually try to make something work. So in a simple sense, a lot of people are very avoidant these days, especially when it comes to relationships. And unfortunately, because of that, there's just a lot of what ifs, could have's, should have, and would have's in today's dating scene. And that is something that we all have to kind of learn how to move on from. And a lot of people kind of see these situations as, oh yeah, if it didn't work out, then boom, like you're supposed to move on just like that at the snap of a finger. Like, oh, if it didn't work out, just move on to the next one, it's whatever. And while I do kind of agree with that, to not dwell on something for too long, if a situation where someone truly matters to you, though, it's gonna be emotionally impossible for you to just move on at the snap of a finger. And if you somehow manage to push yourself to move through that, I think that incident will become some kind of rock that sinks at the bottom of your heart, and you just never truly process from it. And while it is true that we shouldn't let situationships or dates that didn't work out stop us from moving on to someone new and to foster a new relationship with another person, it is still very important to take the time that you need to process old stuff that didn't work out or you wish could have worked out. Because if you just try to bury it and try to pretend like, oh, it's not gonna affect you, then it might become a subconscious issue that can affect your future romantic relationships, whether you like it or not. And depending on how your mind works, it might turn into some kind of subconscious issue that you won't even realize is an actual issue for you. So right now, if you know that you have a situation going on like the one that I mentioned before, I'm really urging you to take a step back and really take a time to meditate for 10 to 12 minutes and think about the situation that's been troubling you, and to really think about what is it that you feel when you meditate and think about the situation, and why is it that you haven't been able to emotionally move on from it. And I highly suggest meditation as the first step, because when we meditate, we're really able to quiet our mind and calm our mind and stay focused on a certain matter. So we truly know that without all the exterior elements affecting us, affecting our decisions, what is it that we truly feel from the bottom of our heart about the incident that has happened. And it is very important to do that, because with stuff like situationships or a failed date, we can talk to our friends about it as much as we want, but our friends are not the person that's been in the situation and went through what it is that we went through. So they don't see the full percentage of the good and bad. And oftentimes when we rant to our friends, we mostly mention the bad things. So that's the impression that our friends could have. Like, our friends could think of that date as worse than they actually are, because they're not there to fully experience the good things. And a lot of the times when someone is really just a bad person, we're able to move on from them very fast. It is when that person is a bit more complex, like you see the good in them and you see the obvious bad in them, that it makes it a little bit harder to move on, because a lot of us do like to hold on to the good things in the person. Or when the connection isn't initially really good, we tend to hold on to that initial feeling that we had. So this is why it is very important to just have like an isolated moment where you're just by yourself, kind of playing through the events on your own and see what went wrong, what happened, and what are still some of the good things that you miss about that person. And another thing to really think about is to think about this incident from three different perspectives. One's perspective is purely your own, because you need to validate yourself and validate your own feelings as they are, even if you feel like some of it wasn't very reasonable or they don't logically make sense. Sometimes you just need to let your feelings be as they are. And then another perspective you need to think of is what things could look like from the other person's perspective. And even though we could never know someone fully for what they are, especially if it's like a situationship or a date that doesn't work out, then chances are you probably didn't get to know them too deeply. But it's still important to think about some of the possibilities. But it's also important to not overthink that part. And then from the third perspective, that is from a God's perspective. So let's say if whatever it is that happened between you guys played out like a movie, what would that look like from an omnipresence perspective? So, for example, this is something that I review with myself a lot. Sometimes I look at an incident or like a fight that I had with someone, and in the moment, I felt like it was justified that I use whatever tone that I decided to use to talk to the other person because I felt like they really wronged me. But when I look at it from like the God's perspective, I realized that I was a little too harsh with my tone, even though I felt really wronged. So that is definitely something to look out for. And this is something that happens very often in the modern dating scene, which is things tends to be going very well between two people and then suddenly one person ghosts the other. And when you look at it from a purely neutral perspective, it no matter how you look at this incident, it just doesn't make sense for the ghoster to do what they have done. And that's when a realization kind of like hits you like, oh wow, this person really did do me wrong, or like they're actually that avoidant. I didn't realize how avoidant they were, but after reviewing it, now I realize how truly avoidant that person is. And it's often in moments like this is where you truly realize, okay, so what is actually happening there? And you stop blaming yourself or putting most of the blame on yourself for what went wrong. And because a lot of the times as a girl where we grew up like having to take on responsibilities for a lot of things, especially the emotional responsibilities. So a lot of us have the tendencies to think that, oh, I probably could have said this better. I probably could have sent a longer text. Maybe if I said this instead of that, then things would have gone better. But when you truly look at the incident from a third person's perspective, or you look at the incident from even the guy's perspective, like let's say if a girl tries to do everything perfectly around you and you just straight abandon them, like what kind of guy are you? So through moments like this, you truly realize, oh wow, it really wasn't my fault, or you realize that you've been way too hard on yourself when the blame is really on the other person. So I highly recommend these kind of perspective reviews for anyone who is trying to process through a situation that was super confusing to them. And also, this is a general rule of thumb for a lot of the girls out there. For guys, I'm not too sure. But for the most part, a lot of what we blame ourselves on, 70% of the fault is actually on the other person. But in general, just do your best to see the situation for what it actually is, because a lot of the times when we're going through a situationship, there are a lot of emotions that comes up that might not be even based on the true facts of what actually happened. So it's good to kind of like review those and see if there are any emotions that you held on to that doesn't even make sense anymore now that you look at the situation again. And then another piece of very important advice I have for all the girls out there is to start dating people who can provide you with what is it that you want consistently right now. And what I mean by that is to truly stop dating people for the potential that you see in them. If they can provide you with what is it that you really need right now, and it's got to be in a consistent way. They can't just be like, oh yeah, for 4 days out of the week they're able to communicate very consistently, and then they kind of like ghost you here and there, or like they take 14 hours to reply to you on 2 days of the week. Whatever it is that you need from a relationship or even a short-term situationship, you need to look for someone who can give you that right now. And it's not to say you need to drop someone like hot potatoes the second they don't act right. It's more to think about if they just randomly start losing interest in you, or their efforts are not consistent for you and you feel really bad about it, then it's good to just move on to someone who can give you what is it that you truly need. And there, you don't need to like wait around or really wait. Okay guys, so I'm back. there's been a delay, like a 2 hour delay when it comes to filming because my phone suddenly ran out of storage and also ran out of battery, so I have to recharge that. But anyways, when you really want something from a relationship or a man, you shouldn't have to wait around for that person to grow into someone that can provide that for you. You should be able to just go out and find someone who is able to be there for you in the way that you need. And also another thing is with the way modern dating kind of is, and for the sake of your own mental health, I really want everyone to remember that everything that we experience on planet Earth is temporary. Even when you have a relationship that is going very well, and even when you have a marriage that is gonna go until the end of your lifetime, things like that are still temporary no matter what. So, in the grand scheme of things, it really is easier and more beneficial for your mental health to just treat anything that didn't work out as a temporary good experience that you're meant to feel in order to kind of give you like a pick me up kind of moment when it comes to romance, and just try to move on to the next one, because there really isn't any point in holding on to something that just didn't work out for whatever reason. So unless you're the type of person who is like an artist or wants to use these experiences to feel yourself, to write something cool, like make a cool song, do something Taylor Swifty, it is infinitely better to just treat it as a temporary experience, know that it's a lesson for you, and move on to the next one. Because I can guarantee you 100%, if you've learned from your previous experiences, the next one you find will always be infinitely better, because now you have more wisdom to spot the things that you don't want in life. And the one thing about life is that the one thing we always have in excess are humans. And as heartless as it might sound, it's true. There are just billions and billions of people on planet Earth. Do not let one failed experience to potentially close the doors of thousands of other things that you could have experienced in this lifetime. And also, from a spiritual standpoint, a huge lesson that everyone on Earth has to learn is detachment. Detachment from our different phases of sense of self, detachment from our material possessions, detachment from family issues and toxic family members, and detachment from a lot of the romantic experiences that we will have in this lifetime, because a lot of them will not work out. And if you're monogamous and you're truly there to find that one true person, then you gotta let go of all the bad ones for that one good one. So even though you're sad about something that didn't work out now, and even though it seems hopeless that you'll find something as good as that or something even greater than that, just know that that feeling will not be there forever. And the universe and the earth is so abundant. You literally will never know what's going to happen next. And it's only when you let go of experiences and feelings that are completely holding you down, you'll be able to feel a lot lighter and attract newer and better experiences into your life. And so I really urge everyone to look at the bigger picture no matter what, and to think about how even though things didn't work out before, now that you learn, things will be better in the future. And to never let any old experiences boggle you down for an extensive amount of time. And that's why you also have to process your feelings that you had from those previous experiences. So to summarize everything, do not let your previous experiences boggle you down so much to the point that you're unable to fully move on from something that didn't work out. And to also sit alone by yourself and really think about everything that happened from your point of view, everything that the other person might feel whenever you say or do something for or with them, and also to look at things from a complete third person perspective to fully understand the situation from a neutral standpoint. And as bad as the dating scene might sound these days, I still hope and encourage everyone to go out and really experience everything for yourself, because like I said in my previous video, you never really know what could happen until you experience things for yourself. And it's also that you'll only truly learn what works and what don't work for you when you go out and really experience that for yourself and truly see for yourself. And with those things in mind, this is the end of today's video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!